The soft spring breeze drifted across Central Park in New York City, carrying with it the scent of newly blossomed flowers and the distant melody of birdsong. Among the people enjoying the morning sunshine sat Elena Parker, a gentle young woman in her late 20s, blind since birth, yet carrying a smile more radiant than the sunrise. She held a white cane in her right hand and a folded braille notebook in her lap, listening to the world the way others rarely paused to hear. But behind her peaceful presence lived a burden she hid from everyone. Life had never given her comfort, only courage. Her parents had passed away when she was a child. She grew up in foster care, learning early that people sometimes helped only when others were watching. Even in adulthood, loneliness followed her like an echo she could not silence. That morning she had come to the park to simply breathe, to escape the cramped noise of buses rushing past Fifth Avenue and the endless horns of yellow taxis. The air here was kinder. The wind felt like memory, a memory of something she had never seen but always dreamed of. Yet even here, pain found her. While trying to cross a walkway near the large fountain, someone bumped her shoulder hard enough to make her stumble. "Watch where you're going," a cold voice snapped before the footsteps faded. She whispered, "I'm sorry," her voice trembling though she had done nothing wrong. She tightened her fingers around her cane and blinked as if sight might suddenly arrive if she only tried harder. Moments later, she heard children laughing in the distance, the flutter of pigeons, wheels of a passing bicycle, and then the thunder of a city bus rolling by, heavy, powerful, shaking the pavement beneath her feet. It reminded her how small she was in a world built for people who could see. She sat down on a nearby bench, gently turning her face toward the warmth of the sun. She tried not to cry, but her heartbeat felt heavy, like the sky pressing against her chest. "God, please," she whispered. "If there is kindness left in this world, just let me feel it once." The world around her kept moving. People hurrying with coffee cups and suit jackets, teenagers taking selfies beneath cherry blossom trees, joggers cutting across the path with quick rhythmic breaths. But no one paused for her. No one noticed her shaking hands, or how her voice almost broke. Until footsteps slowed, and stopped. Not hurried, not impatient, just present. A warm voice gently asked, "Miss, are you all right? You look like you might need a little help." Elena froze. Something in the tone, calm, tender, truly concerned, softened her fear. She lifted her face slightly. "Who's there?" she asked softly. "My name is Michael Carter," he said. "And I think I arrived at exactly the moment I was meant to." Elena exhaled shakily, her fingers curling around her notebook. She didn't know it yet, but the prayer she had whispered into the wind had already been answered. Michael didn't sit too close at first. He simply lowered himself onto the edge of the bench so she would not feel threatened. Elena could sense sincerity in the quiet pause before he spoke again. "I was heading to the subway when I saw you trying to steady yourself," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" "No, just shaken," Elena admitted. "People don't usually stop to ask." Michael lowered his voice, almost like a promise. "Well, I did, and I'm not going anywhere until I know you're safe." His kindness loosened a knot she had carried for years. She brushed her fingers through a strand of her dark hair and asked softly, "Do you come here often?" "Every morning," he replied. "I'm a paramedic. Central Park is where I clear my head after long shifts." He chuckled lightly. "Sometimes the whole city feels like it's crying at once." Elena turned her face toward his voice, smiling faintly. "I know that feeling, except the world thinks I can't see it crying, just because I can't see it all." Michael didn't reply immediately. He respected the weight of those words. A gust of wind swept through the trees, rustling leaves and filling the silence with tenderness instead of discomfort. "I don't think blindness is the worst kind of darkness," he finally said. "Some people walk around with perfect eyesight and still never see what matters." For the first time that morning, Elena laughed, a small, fragile sound, but real. After a moment, she asked, "Could you walk with me for a bit? Just until I calm down?" "I'd be honored," Michael said. He guided her carefully along the stone path, describing the scenery the way a painter explains color. The pale pink clouds of cherry blossoms, families throwing breadcrumbs to ducks near the lake, cyclists gliding past like wind cutting through silk. Elena listened as if each word was a window. As they neared the edge of the park, Traffic noise grew louder, engines roaring, brakes screeching, the deep rumble of a delivery truck shifting gears. Elena hesitated at the curb. "I hate this part," she admitted quietly. "Crossing streets feels like stepping into a storm I can't predict." Michael spoke calmly. "Then let me be your umbrella for today." He placed his hand gently under her elbow, not pulling, not leading, just supporting. Together they crossed toward a quiet side street lined with tall maple trees and the faint smell of fresh bread from a nearby bakery. "May I ask your name?" Michael said once they stopped. "Elena," she answered softly. "Elena Parker." "It's beautiful," he replied. No one had said her name like that in a long time, like it offered warmth instead of pity. For a moment, she stood very still, listening to their footsteps fading behind them and the whisper of passing cars ahead. Something unfamiliar tugged gently inside her chest. Hope, small but alive. She didn't know why this stranger cared, but she could already feel that life was beginning to change. Over the next several days, Elena and Michael began meeting often in the park. At first by coincidence, then by intention. Michael would describe the colors of the sunrise, or the tall oak trees shifting in the breeze, until Elena felt as if her heart could finally see what her eyes could not. But with comfort came fear of losing it. One morning, Michael found her sitting near the lake, her hands trembling over her folded cane. "You sound upset," he said softly as he sat beside her. She swallowed hard. "Michael, I don't want to be someone you feel sorry for." His brows tightened. "Who said I pity you?" "No one has to say it," she whispered. "I hear it every time people change their tone, like I'm fragile glass. I survived my whole life alone. I don't know how to let someone stay." Michael exhaled slowly, feeling the ache behind her words. "You're not a burden," he said firmly. "You're someone worth standing beside." But before she could respond, the piercing screech of tires sliced through the air, followed by a violent crash. A truck had jumped the curb at the street ahead, slamming into a metal barrier near the walkway. People screamed. Sirens from nearby patrol bikes wailed as officers rushed to control the scene. Michael's paramedic instincts ignited. He turned back to Elena. "I have to go help. Stay right here. Don't move." His footsteps pounded away. Elena froze, gripping her cane, panic spreading through her without warning. The sounds were a battlefield of chaos. Shouts, sirens, engines revving, paramedics calling orders she could not see. She tried to breathe, but her chest tightened. The world around her dissolved into noise and fear. Minutes felt like hours. What if he never came back? What if this was just another moment where life reminded her she was alone? Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. Then she heard running footsteps, familiar, steady. "Elena, I'm here," Michael said, breathless but gentle. "I came back. I promised I wouldn't leave you behind." She turned toward his voice like a sunflower turning toward warmth. I thought I lost you," she whispered. "You didn't. I'm right here," he said, and for the first time since they'd met, his voice carried something deeper, something closer than friendship. They walked together again, slowly this time, until they reached a quiet stretch of path surrounded by tall willow trees swaying like curtains made of green silk. Michael let her breathe, let the noise fade, let calm return. After a long silence she finally asked, "Michael, why are you so kind to me?" "Because," he said softly, "you don't realize how much light you carry, even without sight. You think you're living in darkness, but the truth is, you're the first person who made me feel like I'm finally looking at something real." Her lips trembled. No one had ever spoken to her like that. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. The next weekend, Michael surprised Elena with a gentle request. "Let me take you somewhere special," he said. "Not far. Just a short drive." She hesitated, fingers curling around her cane. "Where are we going?" "You'll hear it before you feel it," he replied. He carefully helped her into his car, guiding her hand to the door before closing it gently. The road hummed beneath them as the city melted into softer scenery. Tall trees, open fields, sunlight pouring through like liquid gold across the windshield. 15 minutes later they arrived at a small overlook beside the Hudson River. Elena stepped out slowly, breathing in crisp air carrying hints of water and wildflowers. The sound of the river sweeping against the shore wrapped around her like a soft blanket. "It's beautiful," she whispered, not needing sight to know it. Michael stood beside her. "This is where I come when life is too heavy. I wanted you to have a place where the world doesn't feel so loud." A tear slipped down her cheek, this time not from fear, but from being valued. "Elena," Michael said gently, "the day I met you, I thought I was the helper. But somehow, you became my peace." She turned toward him, voice fragile. "And what if someday you leave, like everyone else did?" "I won't," he answered without hesitation. "I didn't show up in your life by accident. I showed up because God heard a prayer you thought no one was listening to." The wind moved through the tall grass like applause from heaven. Elena didn't speak for several moments. She simply let her tears fall freely, tears of someone who had been hurting for too long, finally touched by a kindness that did not demand anything in return. At last she said softly, "Michael, if you're willing to stay, then I'm willing to learn how to let someone stay." He smiled, not expecting more than that, because trust from a wounded soul is the rarest gift of all. From that day forward, Michael didn't just guide her across streets. He guided her out of loneliness. He helped her apply for a scholarship for blind artists, drove her to workshops, read her poems aloud when her hands shook too much to finish them. And slowly, day by day, Elena's life changed, not because someone fixed her blindness, but because someone saw her heart. Final inspiring message. Sometimes angels don't wear wings. Sometimes they just arrive softly, kneeling beside a park bench, reminding us that kindness still exists, and that the most beautiful rescue is not of the body, but of the soul. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, please comment your feelings below. Like the video, and share it with your friends, so more people can feel hope again. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Kindness Quest, for more emotional and heart-touching stories.